If you're over 70, your body is already sending signals about how much time you have ahead of you. Most people don't notice these signals, not because they're hidden or complicated, but because no one ever explained what to look for. These aren't dramatic symptoms or medical emergencies. They're small, everyday changes that seem insignificant on their own. But when you understand what they mean, they tell you something important about your trajectory. I've spent decades watching people age, and I've noticed patterns that doctors don't always talk about in their appointments. Two people the same age can be headed in completely different directions, and the difference often comes down to things they do every single day without thinking about them. Your body knows where it's headed. The question is whether you're paying attention. My name is Harold Bennett. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not going to pretend to be one. What I am is someone who has observed aging up close for a very long time, in friends, in family, in neighbors, and in myself. I've seen what works and what doesn't. I've watched people maintain their independence well into their 80s and 90s, and I've watched others decline much faster than they needed to. Today, I want to share what I've learned, because I believe you deserve to know these things. If you'd like more of these conversations, consider subscribing. I make these videos because I think this information matters, and I want to reach people who can benefit from it. What I'm going to talk about today are the quiet indicators your body uses to tell you how it's doing. Not medical tests or doctor visits, though those matter too. I'm talking about the everyday things you can observe yourself. Things that reveal whether you're maintaining the resilience you need to live longer and better, or whether that resilience is slipping away faster than it should. The first thing I want to talk about is how quickly you recover from minor setbacks. I don't mean recovering from major illnesses or surgeries. I'm talking about the small things: a mild cold, a poor night of sleep, a week where you didn't move around as much as usual. How long does it take your body to feel normal again? I've noticed something important here. Some people in their 70s bounce back from these small disruptions within a day or two. Others take a week or longer to feel like themselves again. That difference matters more than most people realize. Think about two women I knew, both 73 at the time. Margaret caught a mild cold in February. Within 3 days, she was back to her normal routine, walking her usual route, attending her book club, cooking her regular meals. Susan caught a similar cold around the same time. She took almost 2 weeks to feel recovered, and even then, she seemed a little more tired than before. She started skipping her walks, saying she'd get back to them once she felt stronger. The difference between Margaret and Susan wasn't the cold itself. It was their body's ability to return to baseline. That recovery capacity is one of the most reliable indicators of biological resilience. When your body can restore itself quickly after small challenges, it's telling you something good. It's showing you that your systems are still working efficiently, that your immune response is strong, that your energy reserves are adequate. When recovery takes longer and longer, your body is telling you something different. It's saying that your reserves are getting lower, that stress, even mild stress, is harder to overcome. This isn't about being weak or giving up. It's about recognizing a pattern that predicts how well you'll handle bigger challenges down the road. The good news is that recovery capacity isn't entirely fixed. People who stay gently active, who sleep enough, who eat reasonably well, they tend to maintain better recovery capacity than those who don't. Margaret walked almost every day, even just 15 or 20 minutes. Susan had stopped regular movement a few years earlier. That choice, repeated over time, made a measurable difference in how their bodies responded to stress. Pay attention to how you recover from small things. If it's taking longer than it used to, that's information. It's not a crisis, but it's a signal worth noticing. The next thing I've observed is how people move when they don't know anyone is watching. Not during exercise or physical therapy, but in the ordinary moments of daily life. How you get up from a chair when you're alone. How you walk to the mailbox. How you reach for something on a shelf. I knew two men, both 76, who lived in the same neighborhood. Joe moved through his house with steady confidence. When he stood up from his chair, he did it smoothly, without using his hands for support unless he chose to. When he walked, his steps were even and deliberate. Frank, on the other hand, had developed a cautious quality to his movement. He'd rock forward before standing, using momentum to help himself up. His steps were shorter, more careful. He'd touch the wall or furniture as he passed, not quite leaning, but maintaining contact. These weren't injuries. Neither man had fallen recently or hurt himself. but their bodies had developed different movement patterns over time, and those patterns revealed something about their underlying strength and stability. Joe had continued doing simple strength work throughout his 70s. Nothing dramatic, just consistent movement that maintained his muscle mass and balance. Frank had gradually reduced his activity over the years, and his body had adapted by becoming more cautious. That caution was protective in the short term, but it created a cycle. Moving less led to less capability, which led to more caution, which led to moving even less. Studies have shown that the way older adults move when they think no one is watching predicts their risk of future falls and hospitalization better than their performance on formal balance tests. Your body moves cautiously when it doesn't trust its own stability. That lack of trust usually develops for a reason. If you notice yourself moving more carefully than you used to, especially when you're alone, that's worth paying attention to. It doesn't mean something terrible is about to happen. It means your body is adapting to reduced strength or balance, and you still have time to address that. Simple, consistent movement. Even just standing up and sitting down from a chair several times a day, or standing on one foot while holding a counter, can begin to rebuild the confidence and capability your body needs. I hope this is making sense so far. Stay with me here. This next part is important. The third thing I want to talk about is your appetite and how it's changed. Not dramatic weight loss or gain, but subtle shifts in how your body asks for food and how much it wants. Many people assume that eating less as you age is natural and probably healthy. Sometimes that's true, especially if you're less active than you used to be. But sometimes, a declining appetite is your body telling you it's losing interest in maintenance and repair. That's a signal worth understanding. I watched this happen with two women in their late 70s, Carol and Nancy. Carol still looked forward to meals. She'd plan what she was going to eat, take time to prepare it, and finish most of what was on her plate. Nancy had started to feel indifferent about food. She'd eat because she knew she should, but nothing seemed particularly appealing. She'd have crackers and cheese for dinner sometimes, not because she enjoyed it, but because it was easier than cooking for one person. Over the course of 2 years, Carol maintained her weight and her energy level. Nancy lost about 15 pounds without trying. She thought it was fine. She'd always wanted to be thinner. But her doctor noticed that she was losing muscle, not just fat. Her grip strength had declined. She felt tired more often. What was happening to Nancy is something doctors call anorexia of aging. It's not the eating disorder. It's a physiological decrease in appetite that happens when your body systems start working less efficiently. Your sense of smell and taste can diminish. Your stomach empties more slowly. Hormones that regulate hunger change. The result is that you eat less, and when you eat less, you get less protein, less nutrition, less fuel for maintaining muscle and bone and immune function. Research tells us that maintaining adequate nutrition after 70 is one of the strongest predictors of longevity and independence. People who continue eating enough protein, enough calories, enough variety tend to stay stronger and more capable longer than those who don't. If you've noticed that food doesn't interest you the way it used to, that's a signal. It doesn't mean you should force yourself to overeat, but it does mean you should be intentional about getting enough nutrition. Sometimes that means eating smaller amounts more frequently. Sometimes it means adding protein-rich foods to what you already eat. Sometimes it just means paying attention and making sure you're not letting days go by without adequate fuel. Your body needs resources to maintain itself. When appetite fades, those resources become harder to get, and maintenance starts to slip. The fourth thing I've noticed is how people respond to temperature changes. I'm talking about whether you feel comfortable in normal indoor temperatures, or whether you're always reaching for a sweater even when everyone else feels fine. Two men I knew, both 74, showed me this pattern clearly. Robert seemed comfortable in most settings. He'd adjust if it was truly cold or hot, but he didn't need extra layers when the thermostat was set at a normal temperature. Walter, though, was always cold. He'd wear a cardigan indoors in summer. He'd sit with a blanket in the evening even when the house was warm. This wasn't about personal preference or thin blood, though people often explain it that way. It was about metabolism and circulation. Your body maintains its temperature through constant metabolic work, and that work requires muscle mass, adequate nutrition, and good circulation. When those things decline, your body struggles to keep itself warm. Walter's constant coldness was connected to the same issues Nancy faced. He wasn't eating quite enough, and he'd lost muscle mass over the years. His body simply didn't generate as much internal heat as it used to, and his circulation wasn't distributing warmth as efficiently. Robert had stayed more active and had maintained better muscle mass, which meant his metabolic furnace still ran efficiently. The difference between them wasn't huge on any given day, but over time, it revealed something about how well their bodies were functioning. If you find yourself feeling cold more often than you used to, especially indoors, that's information. It might mean you need more movement to maintain muscle. It might mean you need more food to fuel your metabolism. It might mean your circulation needs attention. Whatever the cause, it's your body telling you that its internal systems aren't working as efficiently as they could be. The fifth thing I want to talk about is mental sharpness. Not whether you have dementia or serious cognitive problems, but whether you notice your mind feeling slower or foggier than it used to, especially in the afternoon or evening. I've seen this pattern again and again. Some people in their 70s stay mentally sharp all day long. They can focus on a task for an extended period, follow complex conversations, remember details from earlier in the day. Others start to fade as the day goes on. By evening, they're noticeably less focused, more easily confused, more forgetful. Eleanor, at 77, could read a book in the evening and follow the plot without difficulty. She'd watch the news and remember what she'd heard. She'd have conversations with her daughter on the phone at 8 or 9 at night and stay engaged. Barbara, the same age, struggled with evening mental fatigue. She'd read the same paragraph multiple times. She'd lose track of conversations. She'd feel like her brain was wrapped in cotton by dinner time. The difference often came down to what doctors call cognitive reserve, your brain's resilience and ability to function under stress. That reserve is built and maintained through several factors. Physical activity increases blood flow to the brain. Social interaction keeps neural pathways active. Mental challenge, reading, puzzles, learning new things, maintains cognitive flexibility. Good sleep allows your brain to clear out metabolic waste. Adequate nutrition provides the fuel your brain needs. Barbara had gradually withdrawn from many of these protective activities. She'd stopped attending her card games. She went to bed very late and slept poorly. She'd simplified her diet to the point where she wasn't getting enough B vitamins or omega-3 fats, both important for brain function. Eleanor had maintained her routines. She walked regularly, which improved her sleep and her circulation. She stayed connected with friends. She challenged herself with crossword puzzles and new recipes. If you notice your mind feeling foggier than it used to, especially at certain times of day, that's a signal worth paying attention to. It doesn't mean cognitive decline is inevitable. It means your brain needs better support, more movement, better sleep, more social connection, better nutrition, more mental engagement. These things matter enormously for how well your mind functions as you age. If this is helpful to you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. The sixth thing I've observed is how long it takes you to feel rested after sleep. Not how many hours you sleep, but how refreshed you feel when you wake up and how long that feeling lasts. I knew two men, both in their mid-70s, with very different sleep experiences. Walter would sleep 7 or 8 hours and wake up feeling restored. He'd have good energy through the morning and into the afternoon. Frank would sleep the same amount of time, sometimes longer, but wake up feeling like he hadn't slept at all. He'd feel tired by mid-morning and need to rest in the afternoon. This difference wasn't about sleep duration. It was about sleep quality, which is one of the most underappreciated factors in healthy aging. As we get older, sleep architecture changes. We spend less time in deep sleep, which is when your body does most of its repair and restoration work. We wake up more frequently. We're more sensitive to disruptions. But some people maintain better sleep quality than others, and that maintenance makes an enormous difference in longevity and health. Poor sleep accelerates cognitive decline. It weakens immune function. It increases inflammation. It makes it harder to regulate blood sugar and blood pressure. It reduces your body's ability to repair muscle and clear out cellular waste. Walter had good sleep habits. He kept a consistent schedule. He got morning sunlight, which helped regulate his circadian rhythm. He stayed active during the day, which made his body ready for rest at night. He kept his bedroom cool and dark. Frank had let his sleep routine deteriorate. He'd stay up late watching television. He'd nap in his recliner in the afternoon, which made nighttime sleep harder. His bedroom was too warm and had light coming in from street lamps. The quality of your sleep affects how long you're likely to live and how well you'll live those years. If you wake up feeling unrefreshed most mornings, or if you need to rest frequently during the day despite sleeping what should be enough hours at night, your body is telling you something. It's saying that your sleep isn't doing what it should, and that deficit accumulates over time. Improving sleep quality doesn't require medication or complex interventions for most people. It requires consistency, light exposure during the day, darkness at night, a cool bedroom, and enough physical activity to make your body ready for rest. These are small things, but they matter enormously. The seventh thing I want to mention is how you respond to small injuries or skin problems. A minor cut, a bruise, a patch of dry skin, a blister. How quickly do these things heal? I've watched people in their 70s heal at very different rates. Some people get a small cut and it's healed within a few days. Others have the same injury and it takes 2 weeks or more. Some people bruise easily and the bruises fade slowly. Others rarely bruise, and when they do, it resolves quickly. Healing capacity is one of the most reliable indicators of biological age, how old your body is functioning compared to your chronological age. When you heal quickly, it means your circulation is good, your immune system is responsive, your nutrition is adequate, and your body's repair mechanisms are working efficiently. When healing slows down, it's often because one or more of those systems is struggling. Poor circulation means less oxygen and fewer nutrients reaching the injured area. Inadequate protein or vitamin C in your diet means your body doesn't have the building blocks it needs for repair. Chronic inflammation from lack of movement or poor diet means your immune system is already working overtime and can't respond as effectively to new challenges. 2 women I knew, both 79, showed me this pattern. Eleanor got a small cut on her hand from gardening. It healed within 4 or 5 days without any problem. Barbara got a similar cut, and 3 weeks later it still hadn't fully closed. Her doctor tested her and found she was low in protein and vitamin D, both essential for healing. Once she addressed those deficiencies and started moving more regularly to improve circulation, her healing improved. If you notice that small injuries are taking longer to heal than they used to, pay attention to that. It's not just about the injury itself. It's about what your body's healing response reveals about your overall resilience. Let me bring this together because all of these observations connect to the same underlying question. Is your body maintaining itself well, or is it starting to struggle? Your body already knows the answer to that question. It's telling you through these small daily signals. How quickly you recover from setbacks, how confidently you move, how interested you are in food, how well you regulate temperature, how sharp your mind stays, how rested you feel after sleep, how quickly you heal. None of these things alone determines how long you'll live, but together, they paint a picture of your trajectory. 2 people the same chronological age can have very different biological ages based on how well their bodies are functioning in these fundamental ways. The encouraging part, and I want you to really hear this, is that most of these signals can improve. Your body is remarkably responsive to small, consistent changes. Moving more, even just a little, can improve your strength, balance, circulation, sleep, and mental clarity. Eating enough protein and nutrition can improve your healing, your immune function, your muscle mass, and your energy. Staying socially connected and mentally engaged can protect your cognitive function. Getting better sleep can improve almost everything. You don't need to overhaul your entire life. You need to pay attention to what your body is telling you and respond with small, sustainable changes. Start with one thing. Maybe it's adding a short walk to your day. Maybe it's making sure you eat enough protein at each meal. Maybe it's improving your sleep routine. Whatever you choose, do it consistently and notice whether those signals from your body start to improve. Your body wants to maintain itself. It's designed for resilience, but it needs the right support to do that work effectively. When you provide that support, even in small ways, you give yourself the best chance of living longer and living better. If you know someone who might benefit from hearing this, please share it with them. These conversations matter, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments about what you've noticed in your own experience. Thank you for being here.